Okay, well, before we do number 15, I'm just going to insert my friend Mick Cusimano, who's going to read a bit on the squawk. Give him a nice hand, Cusimano.
This is Squawk magazine, which is sold out. It's our 36th edition. And if anybody would like to get published, if you have poetry, song lyrics, or stories, talk to me or Chris or Jessica sometime and you can become a published author.
Squawk, are we sleeping?
It seems recently some people went down to Washington for the anti-war rally, and it reminded me of something I did a long time ago. This is something I dug out of my college notebooks from 1973. This is the last anti-Vietnam War protest in Washington, and it was also Nixon's second inauguration. So I rewrote it. No. This is called Having an Inaugural Ball. Every 4 years, a president is elected in these United States. Dignitaries, limousines, and parades are the usual ingredients of such an occasion. For Richard Nixon, celebrating his second term, however, there were 100,000 uninvited guests. Rumors in our college town were this was one last anti-war protest against the Vietnam War was planned for Washington this weekend. My friend John said it was imperative we go down to protest Nixon's inauguration. We had not voted for him, but John's reasoning was, even if we didn't accomplish much, at least our consciences would be clear because we registered our dissent. Besides, there was a chance to get away for the weekend. The 60s were winding down to an end, and we could get our last kicks in before disco and malaise would set in. The weather was cold, so we stopped off at a hotel to warm up. This woman singer for this lounge band came by and asked us what we were doing. We told her, and she got all excited. "We're alive, hippie, freak, revolutionary," she said. We looked around. We were the only ones in the lobby. I guess she was talking about us. One businessman offered us a ride south. An hour later, we hit an ice slick on Route 81 in Pennsylvania, traveling 85 miles an hour. The car spun around and around. I really became worried when the driver let go of the wheel and ducked down on the floor. We were going to die, and there was nothing we could do about it. Bam! We hit a guardrail and stopped. I went flying into the door. Then a second later, the door popped open. Looking down in front of me was a huge cliff. Dazed, we got out of the car, and the driver put out a fire in his engine with a cup of coffee. We got in and kept driving. He offered me a cigarette. I quit smoking a year ago, but for some reason started again. Arriving in Washington, we met some hippies from Athens, Georgia. They were smoking grass in front of the Washington Monument, watching a pack of upstanding Boy Scouts march by. Some ambassador asked us if we were going to take part in anti-war riots. We assured them we were not. We wandered through the Smithsonian looking at dinosaurs and headed to Georgetown. We saw Henry Kissinger, John and Martha Mitchell. They were coming out of a party, and everyone was craning their necks to gawk at them. These are real-life dinosaurs. Yeah. The next morning, we joined 100,000 protesters and marched to the Washington Monument, where Bella Abzup spoke. More than that, we followed the crowd who was heading to the inauguration parade itself. When the members of the crowd began throwing dirt and rocks at the parade, it dawned on us these were not average tourists. No, sir, these were people who were members of the SDS, Marxist League, Yippies, and the Weathermen. Cops broke up the crowd by driving wedges through us on horseback. We then attempted to hitchhike down a nearby street. A huge limousine drove by. I recognized Vice President Spiro Agnew and yelled out his name. He stopped, offered us a glass of champagne, and said he really admired the birds and the song 8 Miles High. He said he wished to be young again and would gladly switch places with us. We gave him our knapsacks and hijacked the limo to the inauguration party at West Marcino. Actually, that part isn't true. We really drove by us without even stopping. The first story sounds better. Hitchhiking home in a beltway, a van stopped and picked up 8 of us. One guy told a story about he was with a band of yippies. They had marched down the street with a 50-foot stuffed rat with Nixon's head on it, but the cops confiscated it. Another fellow had been arrested and fined $25. He had run up to Nixon's limousine where the president was peering through his sunroof and gave him the finger. He is really proud of his exploit, probably the finest moment in his young life. A hero for a day among the underground radical fringe. We arrived back at college that night exhausted. I laid my head on the pillow, and suddenly I heard a tapping on the window. It was Vice President Spiro Tuiagnu, larger than life, floating through the air, singing 8 miles high. Squad magazine is sold out, but I have a copy of Underground Surrealist magazine available for $2. Thank you. Yeah!